Hello and welcome to episode 2 of my Blender Unity crash course. This episode we're going to be doing modeling, so getting right into it. We discussed object mode up here before. If you have a mesh selected, you get a lot more options. The only two I want you to worry about is edit mode and object mode. So edit mode I'm going to now, and here you can see you can select vertices by default. Switch back to object mode and edit mode actually by the tab key. It's the hotkey just to switch between those two alone. Another thing to note is in object mode or edit mode, you can hit Control Tab and switch to, you get this wheel again, and you can switch to a mode this way. So object mode is here, edit mode is right here. So you can switch back to object like that. Clicking the object, pressing Tab to go into edit mode, you can see which mode you're in right here. Here we have the option just next to it for vertex or vertices. One is a vertex, multiple are vertices. Edge, right? You select basically two vertices at the same time, is essentially what that is, but you do new things with it. Faces. Again, straightforward, but you can do more. You'll hear terms like normals later. What that is essentially a face with a positive and a negative side. So the negative side in Blender will still show. So we're inside the cube now. And here's our negative side. This is our positive side. So basically, this normal face has a direction. It's that way. This to me is just an important piece of information for creating games because in Unity and most game engines, by using default shaders and I guess optimal shaders, the negative side of a face or a normal will be invisible in most cases. So if you ever have a situation where you have a mesh that's invisible, but if you go inside of it, you can see it's because the normals have been flipped. I'll show you guys how to control that later, flip back and forth. So moving on, we're going to test out some new hotkeys. So I'll just go through a bunch of the useful ones. So the first one I want to show you is, I guess, go to vertex mode. And so you can select things in different ways. So you can click and drag. That'll give you a box select, right? Just like on your computer. Doing anything else. If you press C, you go into this circle select mode. You can use your mouse wheel to make this bigger or smaller, and what this is a paintbrush. So you can then paint things to select them. This works so you can right click to get out of that, just like the other modes. Just right click, but it will keep your selection after you do. So another good one is press A, and you can select the whole thing. So if it wasn't selected fully before, I press A, it'll select everything. In edit mode, it'll select your whole mesh, but in object mode, it will select the whole scene. Okay, just an important thing to know. So going back in here, A to select everything, you can double tap A to deselect everything. And all of these work in every mode, right? So you can circle select in face mode, you can circle select in edge mode. So another thing to note is that if you press the middle mouse button while in circle select, it will deselect, right? So left click, holding left click will paint, holding middle mouse button will erase, and right click to get out of it. And again, if you've got something selected, you want nothing selected, just double tap A, and it'll deselect everything. So if we click and hold shift, while we click more, it'll select more. Okay, next, all the hotkeys that I've mentioned so far. So you can rotate these, right? You can scale these. You can just select 2 and scale 2. You can't do much with a single vertex, but select multiple and you can see what goes on. So just play around with that. G, just move, right? You just move some of these around. So I'll mention again, R is rotate, S is scale, G is move. You can also duplicate. So I go to face mode. You can duplicate a face. So you just duplicate it and maybe move it over here, click. Duplicate, move another one over here, and click. Right, and you can rotate these individually. You click this face here. You can go back into edge mode, right, and select separate edges here now. You can select vertices individually and change the shape of whatever these two things over here are supposed to be. Okay, so you go back into object mode, and you can see now your entire mesh. This is your mesh now. This is your cube object. Right, so whatever you do, just bear in mind that whatever you do in edit mode, it becomes your entire mesh then. Okay, and just to mention again that Shift D is the hotkey for duplicate. Now, another thing we can do is we can extrude. So as I said before, this is one single face, and that means it has a normal with a positive and a negative side. So one side will be invisible. So say you want this floating out here like it's, I don't know, a rock or something. So you press the letter E, and that will extrude this. Go in either direction. We can make sure we're going in the right direction afterwards. So what you can do as well is you can hover over an island. So basically this entire thing is our mesh, it's our cube object, but if we have separate pieces inside of that mesh, I would call them islands. So you can hover over an island and press L. Now you don't need to hold shift to select multiple things, double tap A to deselect. So just to make sure that we have this, the normals facing out, you can press L over this island here, press shift and then N. Hold shift, then press N. And and you get this little thing down here called recalculate normals. Now it probably works, so it usually does. But in any case, if it doesn't, or for some reason that you want a particular face to be facing the other way, you can open up this little drop down that you get after pressing Shift N, and you can click inside. So it will flip the normals to be facing what it thinks to be inside. So extrude is a great way to add geometry to your mesh, so we can use that again over here. It will be much easier if I just went into face mode by clicking this. Now I can select each face easily like that. So let's hit E to extrude again. And now if it is a fully closed object, it will automatically snap to its normal direction. Now its normal direction is directly forward from where it's facing. So basically it's going to go up that way, right? This one is going to come down this way. So it's normal direction. Now click this so I can scale it. Another thing we can do to add geometry is press I to inset faces. So we can hit I, and this is going to create a border around that one little face that we have there. Right, now we have all of these. We can hit E to extrude these if we want. Right, now we've got some sort of a container. I'm not making anything in particular here. We will make a character and a prop and have them interact in Unity. But for now, I'm just kind of messing around trying to get all the information out there so that you guys know what the buttons do. Moving on. Another good way to add geometry to your mesh is by using loop cut. So just as I've got this edge right here, I can create another one in here if I want to. Right, you scale an edge in like that. You can kind of taper objects a little bit more. So hit Control R around any one of these directions. Now it all depends on where your cursor is placed, right? So if you want to go vertically or horizontally, you're going to have to go close to the edge that you want to cut. You can use your middle mouse wheel to increase the amount of loop cuts you're about to use. Don't go crazy. So we're going to have 3 or 4, right? And scale those. Another way we can select things by hitting Alt, and it will select a loop, right? Holding Alt and clicking one edge will select a loop. Now you can also do this with faces, so if I hold Alt and click right here, it's going to select that ring all the way around. So what you're doing there is you're actually selecting the topology. So topology is basically the flow of geometry. So this in particular flows kind of in a ring around it as if it's like some more cylindrical than cubical. Good time to mention that just like in object mode, we can add new meshes, right? You can also add them in edit mode. So if you wanted a new island, you didn't want to duplicate this and make a cube out of it, L, X, delete. So new delete options here also as well. So I say I Shift A, add a cube, I can hover over this with L, hit X, and I get all kinds of different delete options. Really the only ones you need to worry about are vertices, edges, and faces. So right now we can just, literally any of those would delete the entire thing. So we'll just click faces. And now we're back. Another important thing to note here is that if I hit E and right click, extrude will actually keep the face that you left there. It'll just snap it back to the exact same position. So if I delete this now, it'll delete the face, but there's still 2 edges on top of each other, and I wanted the face there, right? So if I just press A and select the entire mesh, this is a really good cleanup option. You can press M. This is going to merge vertices. So you can merge them by distance, and by default it's a pretty short distance. Another drop down arrow option here. It's a pretty small distance, so what that's going to do is it's going to delete any vertices that are overlapping each other. So if I hit Control Z and undo this, select everything, M to merge, click by distance, and it tells you how many it removed here. So it removed 4 vertices. So that makes sense. It removed 1, 2, 3, 4. They were overlapping. Another important thing to note with modeling is sometimes you want to have this smooth shaded. You don't want to have it flat like this, so it looks like it's made out of wood. You can right click, and you get more options here. This is in object mode, by the way. Right click, and you can click Shade Smooth. And this will affect the game object in Unity as well. It will decide whether it's flat or smooth shaded. You can see we get some weird effects here sometimes. There's ways to clean this up. So say I wanted these to be sharper edges. Select this edge and we can hit Control B. That's going to bevel it. And just like with loop cut, we can add geometry, more loops if we want. So just I think 3 is good there. And that'll make that a little bit more of a sharper corner. We can do that to all of them if we want. Control B. And it will remember how many you scrolled, unlike loop cut. Control B. Alt to select those rings. Control B. We can do it to this one too. Why not? And this is adding a lot of geometry. And one thing I want to show you guys is you might not have this down here. Triangles and faces and vertices is an important statistic for a game object. So we're going to actually have, we're going to make that appear up there. So you can go to Edit and Preferences. Go to Interface. Drop this arrow down here, Status Bar. Scene Statistics. So you click this, and you can see what you're working with geometry-wise. This is a really important statistic for games. Just make sure that's checked off, and you can see how many triangles you have right here. Triangles is the most important stat. because no matter what we have here, Unity will transform all of these quadrilaterals into triangles by doing this. Cutting them all in half. You cut a square in half, it becomes 2 triangles. Okay, so in smooth shading, you can fix this weird geometry here. I just hit Control-R to add a loop cut there. You can also just undo that. You can also just take this one if we don't need it. We can hit G and G, and what this is edge slide. So we can slide this edge right down without changing the shape of this object crazily, and just slide that down there so that the shading is fixed. So here's a great time to point out that your game engine, in most cases, will only draw triangles and it will only draw quadrilaterals. As I mentioned, it will cut the quadrilaterals into triangles, so I guess it will only draw triangles. So this right here, as you can see, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I guess 12, I guess. This is no good. So this face will be invisible in Unity. It will not want to draw it. It will say, "What are you doing? Please stop. This is horrible." So it will manage quads. It won't manage n-gons, which is what this is called. So that's almost it for this episode. The last couple things we're going to do is learn how to save, I guess. So File, Save. You can save your project into whatever folder you like. Or if you don't want to keep it, to File, New, and General is that the scene that you get with the camera, light, and cube. So we'll hit General. I'm not going to save this. Boom. So next episode, we're going to start back right here. We'll continue more modeling training in the videos where we actually create our game assets. So that being said, that concludes this video. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helped. In the next one, we're going to be UV unwrapping and texturing, and I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching, guys.